Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for day 3 of Meet the Farmers Virtual Summit 2020. We're glad you could join us. Welcome to innovative agricultural insurance products and how they can help farmers and businesses deal with climate risks. Our speaker for today is Mr. Agritosh Mukherjee, the Managing Director of Riskshield. Good morning, Mr. Mukherjee.
Good morning. Okay. Should I start the presentation?
Yes, you may. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot. So thank you very much for attending this session and for asking me to talk at this session. So if we could move on to the next slide, please. Sure. And the one after that as well. Thanks a lot. So I wanted to give a very quick profile as to what we are doing as Riskshield and the kind of work we've done, the kind of products we've developed over the years. So we've been working in Zambia for about 5 years now, since 2015. We are basically a technical service provider and a consultancy firm based here out of Zambia, as we're based in Lusaka. But we're also working in many other countries in Africa, in Asia, in Australasia, Europe as well. So over the last 5 years, the products we've done have effectively insured about 4 million small-scale farmers in over 30 countries. The way we work is we develop the product. So we do all the technical work around the product development, the actuarial work around the product design, pricing, use of satellite data, the claims calculation work as well. And then we partner with suitable insurance companies as well as international reinsurance companies in order to transfer the risk to the appropriate insurance and reinsurance markets. So to give you an overview of some of the products we've got available in Zambia as well as other countries, if we could move to the next slide, please. Thanks. So when it comes to small-scale farmers, as we all know, the weather risks, in particular, risks to do with drought, dry spells, excessive rainfall, flooding, these are very much relevant, and these can affect a large number of farmers at the same time. So there's a big concentration of risk which can take place, which it's difficult to mitigate using other methods. So we believe insurance plays a very important role for the mitigation of different types of production risks. So they could be to do with the weather conditions as well as pests and diseases, other types of production risks, and potentially some of the post-production risks as well. So the main categories of products we have available, one of course is the weather index insurance products or parametric insurance products. So these are products where we use satellite data of different types of variables, starting with rainfall, temperature, soil moisture, other types of parameters, to basically monitor the weather conditions during a season. So the typical risks insured here would be drought, dry spells, excessive rainfall, flooding, heat waves, cold spells. And we've done this in a number of countries in both in Africa as well as in Asia. We have implemented these types of weather index products. We also do work we develop and implement yield index as well, where these are still parametric and index insurance products, but where the index is basically based on the average yield in a particular area. And this is possible to do, especially if the yield data is available for at least 5 or so years. And if there's a process in place for collecting the yield data, then this can also be done. So we are doing this in a number of countries in Africa and as well as Asia. And at the same time, we also do some work on the more typical indemnity products. So these are products which are usually more suitable for medium to large scale farmers and the more larger commercial farmers, where essentially the insurance company or a loss assessor needs to visit to assess the damage on particular fields. So those kind of products are also available, both for crops as well as livestock as well. We also do a lot of work on life and health insurance. So these products are usually integrated within the agriculture value chain. So to give you an example, we've been insuring about 140,000 small-scale farmers in Malawi with funeral insurance over the last couple of years. We also have similar life and health products available in Zambia as well. And then we've also done a lot of work on digital-based insurance and social security solutions as well. So moving on to the next slide. Um, Thanks. So just to give a little bit more detail on the weather index products. So essentially, the risks would be weather related. So in Zambia, the typical risks that would be most relevant is drought, dry spells, flooding, potentially excessive rainfall. There is an option of monitoring these events through weather stations or rainfall gauges. Usually, though, it's very challenging to have adequate weather stations available, or they may not be available quite close to the farmers. So the alternative that we use is satellite data. So the satellite data coverage is there throughout the country, and then if the parameters are reached, so basically if the rainfall is below the trigger level, for example, automatically there would be a payout. Of course, the payout can be directly to farmers, or it can also be integrated with value chain. So the payout could be through a input supplier, through a contract farming company, also through banks or microfinance institutions. So in this process, there is no need for farmers to actually report claims, or for insurance companies to actually spend a lot of time and money to verify claims and assess claims. There's another category of products we have. Next slide, please. Which is called yield index. And with yield index, again, it is an index insurance product. So basically, the payouts are based on the average yield in an area. So what we would do is we would make assessments of the average yield in a particular area. And if the yield is below the trigger level, so as you can see in that graph on the bottom right-hand corner, if it is below a certain yield level, then automatically there would be payouts. This kind of product can be done, and it has been quite successful in some countries, including in Zambia as well. But one prerequisite for this is that there needs to be at least certain number of 5 or 6 years of historical data available, which is relevant and representative for those particular farmers. At the same time, there needs to be a process in place for assessing the yield. So it's not always very easily applicable when it comes to small-scale farmers, but it can be done as well. And this can also be quite applicable for irrigated crops as well. Then moving on to the last category of products I wanted to talk about today. So next slide, please. Which is livestock. So livestock, essentially, there are some options. We can implement products on an indemnity basis. So if the cattle passes away, there is compensation. There are also some products which are satellite-based, where the weather conditions or even the vegetation conditions can be monitored. A prerequisite for livestock insurance generally is, there needs to be good veterinary care in place. There needs to be a proper vaccination schedule being followed, and so on. But if those requirements are met, then livestock insurance is certainly possible to implement as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I just wanted to give a quick overview of some of the types of companies we have worked with. So over the last 5 years and even earlier, we've worked with contract farming operations. So essentially, where insurance was integrated in their outgrower schemes or contract farming systems. So this has been quite successful in Zambia over the years. Farmers have received insurance on a purely voluntary basis, as well as on a mandatory or bundled basis. The products have also been done at the portfolio level for the contract farming company's operations. So essentially, when the farmers are receiving inputs, they can also have an option of whether they want insurance or not. Such products can be done at quite a low cost. I think the cheapest products we have in Zambia are only about $2 per hectare. So they can be affordable even from a small scale farmer's perspective. We also have products which can be integrated with banks or MFIs. So these products, we've worked with a few banks and MFIs over the years. And what we see is the agriculture insurance, and indeed also life insurance and health insurance, can actually reduce the credit risk for the banks and MFIs. So as a result, it can improve the farmer's access to finance in the first place. There are certain MFIs who have actually been able to relaunch specific crop loan products because the insurance coverage was actually there in the first place. So we see, as a result of having the insurance product, farmers not only do they receive protection, but they also get better access to finance, better access to inputs, and so on. We've also seen some impacts where farmer organizations have used insurance as a form of collateral for actually getting better access to inputs and better access to loans as well. And then moving on to the next slide, please. Yeah, so okay. So basically, with these different types of aggregators, we see, there's a number of different companies we have worked with over the years, as we've given a few examples there. And the kind of impacts we see is when it comes to banks and MFIs, the insurance actually reduces their credit risk. It can actually enable them to give out loans on a more risk-informed basis. It can also lead to overall lower portfolio risk for the banks or MFIs. And then when it comes to the input suppliers, insurance can actually be used by them as a form of marketing, so as a form of sales promotion. It can also reduce defaults if the inputs are being given on credit. And also for contract farming companies, we see one impact on the businesses is that insurance can actually improve farmer loyalty. It can reduce defaults and the credit risk. And it can potentially also reduce side selling or side marketing, which is a big concern sometimes for contract farming companies and commodity buyers. And then finally, the next slide, please. The final slide. Sure. So if you're interested, based on what you've heard so far, and we're also doing a few demos throughout this event, please do get in touch with us. Our contact details are there. And just to give you an idea on what we do, when we develop the products, we would actually need to develop the product. So what we do is there are a lot of products which have been there on the market over the years, but we believe in, developing tailor-made products for your particular requirements. So for that reason, we would need to know where the farmers are located. So the information is read as like the essential data or the essential information we would need in order to develop tailor-made products for you. So we would need to know locations of the farmers in terms of GPS coordinates or even the names of agriculture camps or districts. We need to know which crop you're looking into or you're working with. And we need to know what are the typical planting dates. Those are really the essential requirements. If possible, some of the other information like relevant risks, number of farmers, hectares, cost of production, experience of bad years in the past, all of that would help to have a more accurate product for your particular needs. But if you can give us just the location, crops, planting dates, we're good to go. We can already develop a prototype product for you and present it to you. So we are open for business, and our email addresses and phone numbers are there. Our website is mentioned as well. So please do get in touch. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us as well. Thanks a lot for your time. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Agritosh. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us as well. Good day.
Thanks.